we just had a wonderful run of luck with making a very good album back in 13, 14. There Will Be Nights When I'm Lonely. And the cool thing about it, John, is like, I was teaching elementary. I was teaching kindergarten through 5th grade. And when it started to blow up, where New York Times was contacting us and NPR. Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm in the classroom. I can't talk right now. There's kids trying to escape. He threw the chair at me. Wait, I got to call you back.
Kids trying to escape.
Dystopia tonight. Dystopia tonight.
Hello.
What's going on, man? So can you draw? That's what I need to know.
I've got my 13-year-old looking for like doodles. Yeah, I was the big fat kid when I was little, so like you have to find outlets. So drawing. Oh, he found like a doodle.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
And I'll do little doodles, but whenever we go out to eat as a kid, you got a placemat or a napkin.
Yeah.
Just doodle the hell out of everything.
Dude,
yeah, so I'm a dude. My wife's a painter. That's one of her paintings up there. But yeah,
I was going to say that is beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, man. The whole garage is filled with a whole bunch of stuff.
That's so great.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah,
thanks. Yeah, man. So one of the things I remember from doing the Long Beach thing was, I don't know if you remember this, but they had a problem at one point with the audio.
Yeah.
But that's what was so fucking awesome, right? So we're all doing the thing and everyone's kind of scrambling. They don't know what to do. And like, they're like, I guess we're just not going to have entertainment for the next whatever. And you were like, fuck it. I could sit like, that's ridiculous. And you got up there, banjo, like stomping your feet, and you did the whole thing and projected. And that's what, I mean, everybody just started gathering around, man. It was so awesome. Yeah,
good.
That like won me over immediately. I was like, this guy's phenomenal.
Man. I mean, what a theme for I've been playing the show as a part-time thing, raising a family and teaching. Really since like 2007. We had our first in 2008, so music was the way to subsidize the teacher's income, and so it's the same premise. Oh, you're good, Joe. It's the same premise. If it falls apart in the classroom, you got to keep going. If it falls apart on stage, what are you gonna do? You just sit there and go. So It's better just to keep croaking it out, because the audience has come to engage and listen. And don't be a prima donna. Just throw down and do it.
Right. It was so great too, because it's like, I've been to concerts shit like that before, where like people obviously need their equipment or their little tweaking or whatever it was. You're like, I don't need any of that shit. You're like, I can say, you sang, played, and like the energy you had when you went up there too, man. You just gave it your all. So it was so great. I mean, even as a comedian, you got to do the same thing. I remember one time there was a blackout at a club that I was at, and I still did the show in the dark, because I was like, what are we gonna do? We're fucking here. There's nothing to do, so I'll just do it in the dark. It's great. It's totally
mad respect. We were, so Jenny, my wife, she likes to do a stand-up. Like, she'll practice a stand-up routine to us, the kids and me.
Oh, nice.
And she's pretty funny.
Awesome.
She's an Italian Chicago girl. So
there's
humor there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we like comics, but I'm always amazed. I mean, you talk about bravery and ready just to face the firing squad, man. Comics, you got no instruments to hide behind. You got just you and a fucking microphone. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. It is kind of like whenever people say that back to me, I do realize how psychotic it is to do it.
Oh God.
Like, no backup, nothing. It's just
nothing.
Yeah. What's weird is like, I didn't realize that at the time. When I started, I thought that, the longer you'd been doing it, you'd shake it off. But I've been doing it for 16 years, and like every time I'm like about to go on stage, my brain always goes, you don't have to do this. It's like,
there's a 9 to 5 right around the corner. Exactly, man.
Exactly. I'm like scouting for exits. I'm like, you can just run. No one's gonna know. Like, they don't know you. Man. It's weird. When did you start playing music? When did you first start getting interested in it?
Just in general. Like
in general. Like, what was your first instrument? Like that kind of stuff.
Singing, we were raised like a lot of people, a lot of musicians that find their way in a different path. We were raised in the church in South Florida, real hardcore, hardcore meaning like we go 3 times a week. It felt like once is a lot, but you're going 3 times a week sometimes. That's an investment. And so
we used to try to make it on Christmas and Easter, and that was like Italian Catholic. You were like we're really fucking good at this, and then you realized that you said 3 times a week, and I'm like, go to hell.
Oh yeah, you are. You should have gone, John.
Exactly. I'm like, come on.
and that's that's where we started. We sang as a family. My sister played in public school viola. I was expected to play the violin, and I don't want to play the violin, but what are you going to do? Your mom's got a yardstick. You're going to play the violin.
How come you didn't want to play the violin?
I was a big fat kid. And so that's hard. Like when you're a big fat kid and they give you the tiniest little instrument in the world and you're already getting shit from everybody,
right.
And then they give you so it wasn't really my desire at the time, but man, I love the fiddle. The fiddle is like a great extension. So that was around 9 and 10 when I started learning instruments. And then, I think music is such a language. When you're exposed to it 3 days a week through a church service, you just learn how to put stuff together, and then all the instruments came.
Wow.
So so music's just a big part of our life as a family. Yeah,
that's awesome. I wish instruments, stuff like that, came naturally to me. I'm not. My mom can play by ear like a piano. I can memorize stuff really well. I'm not good at reading music. But like the notes and stuff. I have a banjo. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I try, man. It's just, but it's. I can't say that I practice enough to even like do whatever, but I fucking suck. So there's no real way around it. I have it. I love it that it's there. It's hanging out. Yeah. It's got a Kermit wrapped around it. It's pretty great. A little connection. Yeah, exactly. That's I'm like, great. He'll figure it out. But I envy that, man. I love that you're able to just kind of like pick it up. And I love, by the way, the fiddle is one of my like weaknesses for any song or any. If somebody is just jamming on a fiddle in a song, I'm like, you got me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally agree with you.
I don't know what it is. It's
really
a beautiful instrument.
I'm not my fiddle skill set is kind of Chucky Chuck. It's I can't go flying like a Vassar Clemens or a Gypsy Jazz, Stefan Grappelli. But you know, there's guys like an Eric Brubaker out of the band The Steel Wheels out of Virginia. Man, like it just melted butter. It just flies like melted butter.
It's what he's like. He's like
totally agree.
It's like in the band Blues Traveler, the dude who I can't think of the guy's name, but the dude who plays the harmonica. It's like almost the same kind of way when they're playing the fiddle, where I'm just like, wow, what fucking level of talent is that? Like that's a crazy skill. Did you during the pandemic we were talking a little earlier about just kind of doing the live stream shows and shit like that. Did you find it like easier to kind of focus in on? Because I know you were still teaching, but as far as like creatively, musically, did you find it better for you to kind of like, without anybody breathing down your neck, and without having the pressure to maybe tour, did you find it creatively stimulating?
Well, so music's always a part of, if I have a hobby as well as an outlet to perform, it's music. So, any given day, there's an instrument in my hand, whether it's an accordion or a banjo,
Oh, nice.
So,
or a jaw harp.
So that never changes. Or I had a jaw harp, John, and I chipped my tooth a long time ago. Doing the boing boing because you control it with how you change your tongue and your throat. But if you do it too hard, it'll chip the hell out of your teeth. So be careful with the jaw harp.
Okay, my buddy just got one, my buddy just got one. He's been bringing it around, and he does it pretty well. But it's always one of those things where I'm like, it's gotta hurt at some point. Yeah, I will absolutely.
But no, it was a good outlet. Those live streams were, I got done with the 3-week tour here just this last 6 days ago.
Nice.
And one of the consistent things from music listeners and fans that showed up to the shows was how much they appreciated those live stream check-ins during, heavy lockdown. And we live in a rural area out here in Central Texas. We live in Kerrville, Texas, which is about 60 miles, 70 miles west on Highway 10 of San Antonio. So we're out here, there's deer and wild animals circling around, what I'm saying?
That's awesome.
So
I feel bad, because the craziest thing we have over here is a squirrel that ate my Halloween pumpkin.
We got wild hogs and there's cougars sometimes as you go at the junction.
Yeah. Oh wow! You got Tim Allen and 40-year-old women. That's the references that I'm getting.
So we weren't affected as brutally as some of the more urban areas during the pandemic. Where, talking to friends in Brooklyn when we played up in Brooklyn just a couple weeks ago, they were like, I haven't seen anyone in 70,000 days.
Yeah.
And you can tell they're just they needed that small interaction, even on a video stream, with people checking in and us playing from the living room while the kids were sleeping or at grandma's.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of value there, and that was a huge high for me to still have a connection with people that you connect with in music when you're on the road. So yeah, that was a positive thing.
Yeah, I feel the same way too. I feel like there weren't many silver linings through the whole, pandemic, but being able,
Right.
I almost feel like my friends and I saw each other more during the pandemic on screen than we ever got around to seeing each other in person.
Right.
Yeah, and it was nice.
Totally agree. And now see, down in Texas, we did it a little bit differently. We were remote for a while,
right?
And saying hi to students just like this, how are you doing on your algebra? In this type of interaction. Right. And then we went right back to it. So we were just right in the thick of it, teaching face to face the following year. But with music, this was the only connection we had, and sometimes there were online festivals in Germany or in in England. And you would have the time zone change, and you'd reach out to buddies in New Zealand. So yeah, that was an incredible. We're fortunate to have that ability to still connect, even though we can't, the reality of what it was.
Yeah, I agree, man. It was nice. Tom and I did a bunch of charity stuff. Like we did the first thing we did was this huge live, charity
89-hour telethon.
Right. Yeah.
All comedians. We had 300 comedians.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome. Yeah. But being able to connect that way with people, but we had the same thing where we had, because we did the 89 hours, there were people from England popping on, and they were just waking up in the morning, and we would still be on. And then we had somebody, what was the comic? Malaysia.
Julia Hang.
Yeah. And we were like, we couldn't have done this beforehand like this. Nobody would have thought to.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you think, I feel like we should keep that going. I haven't, now granted, I haven't facilitated that since we're getting back there, playing a show on Saturday.
Yeah.
But based on those experiences on the road, I want to get back to doing that. I think, people that can't come out, even friends that were not doing well, they were sick, they couldn't come out. It was a great avenue for them to still, connect. So will you guys keep doing that from time to time?
I think we're definitely going to do the charity thing again from time to time to do it. I don't know. I loved the music that you guys, any kind of bands or musicians, my friends, I live close to Asbury Park in New Jersey. So it's nice. All my friends are musicians, stuff like that. And they had their own stuff going. And I love that. I feel like the comedy, while Zoom shows are still going, it's a different animal. I loved exercising a different muscle to do it. But I think for comedians, it was you need that interaction. But for the music and stuff, it was just phenomenal to be able to see bands I normally wouldn't be able to see, when I was on the road or traveling or anything like that, or
completely.
Yeah,
and in a different context, and completely different context too. Yeah.
What fascinated the hell out of me is when a band was able to coordinate online when they weren't in the same place, but that you guys would still be able to. I'd be like, I can't even do it in the same room. I don't even know how you do that.
Completely agree.
It was wild
how they would coordinate that, but it was amazing when they would facilitate it. And
I know. I was like, this is fucking magic. This is what's happening. I don't know what it is, but that's just fucking magic. What was the Possessed by Paul James album is the one that I have.
The first one.
I have the first one. Yeah, I grabbed the first one. Yeah, I got the first one, and then the one that you did that was in God. Oh my God, I hate this. Ask Tom. I do this all the time. I blank on a name of either a person or a thing immediately when I need it. What was the one? What was the album where you? What?
No, I just said Jesus randomly. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I needed.
What's your name?
I just pass it. My head bangs off the desk. I'm on the floor.
Yeah.
Tom just takes over and slides in. He has a me wig that he puts on. He's like, all right. It's just a straw hat that's just frazzled, dyed black. No, it was the Nights When We Were Lonely, the one that had that song on it.
Yeah. There will be nights when I'm lonely. Yeah, it was 13, 14, right on the change. Yeah,
13, 14. Then I found that one, and I felt that's, I think, is
we got lucky
like,
with that one.
Yeah, that's my. I think the whole, like, I think it was different in the first album than the because this one, I think it had like it flowed. You know what I mean, from beginning to end, from first song to end. Was that intentional, or did that just work out that way?
Man, I tell you, I think, I'm really a trades guy. So when I look at music, I think about it as a trade. Like a plumber or a drywaller or a teacher. I know the value of music and the magic of the energy and the emotion that gets exchanged at live shows. It's really, it's very similar to comedy, on how the joke just overpowers the person and they're needing their inhaler, and they're moved by it. So there's something very metaphysical about those mediums of trade, but that was just one of those lucky runs. Like a welder gets a beautiful little penny roll on a weld bead. We just had a wonderful run of luck with making a very good album back in 13, 14. There Will Be Nights When I'm Lonely. And the cool thing about it, John, is I was teaching elementary. I was teaching kindergarten through 5th grade, and when it started to blow up, where New York Times was contacting us and NPR. Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm in the classroom. I can't talk right now. There's kids trying to escape. He threw the chair at me. Wait, I got to call you back.
Kids trying to escape.
And I was like, this is surreal. That was a surreal experience. And that really kind of solidified musical professionalism, if you will, quote unquote, to say, hey, we're going to have an avenue to be able to perform at a national level more consistently, where it'll be advantageous to go to Boise, Idaho, and we know people will show up for a show. That's always that's the chance element that any working musician has. It's like, can you afford to go on tour? Because you never know who's gonna not show up.
Right.
And I feel very lucky about that we had a nice swing on that album, and it's really created a great opportunity just to keep playing within the family balance and the teaching balance.
Sure. Yeah, it's still one of my favorite albums, man, of all time. And
good.
I very rarely listen to. Oh, it's so great, because it's one of those things where, like, I love, I have my favorite bands and stuff like that too, but I very rarely listen to an album from beginning to end. You know what I mean? You pick your favorite songs, do whatever. I would go out on the road and I would pop that in and just know for the next hour or so I was good. Like, I'd be like, that's all I needed. And it was beautiful, man. And it fucking hit home too, because I feel like, a lot of that stuff is about, like, I mean, for me anyway, I connected with it on a traveling level, like, where does all the time go? Like the lyrics of that one fucking hit hard. All beautiful music, man.
Totally agree. And it feels like dumb luck. Doesn't feel like any skill was involved in that. Felt like, hey, there's $100 on the sidewalk. I think that's what's interesting about music, because you have your process of practice and you have your process of writing, but just like a comedian, just like any writer, when it's let go, you have no idea how the reception is going. You hope for the best, but you're like, this may really suck. And, and
that's such a good feeling though too, when you're like, it sucks, but I'm putting it out there. That's all I got. I don't know what else to do.
Choice. You gotta try. You gotta try.
Yeah,
you gotta try.
What do you do? I mean, I don't know. Do you feel any artistic pressure? I mean, I feel like we all do this to a certain extent, but like, how do you deal with feeling like you need to top something, or do you feel like you ever need to top the last thing you did?
Sure.
How do you deal with it?
So, right after that release, the real question was, well, should I be a professional musician? I've been a school teacher forever. Should I be a professional musician? And that on top of, okay, how do you come back with another one? Right. And then, so what happened in our little journey is that I suffered some vocal problems and had two procedures for my vocal cords. So I had like a 6-month window between when we did There Will Be Nights When I'm Lonely, and this album, As We Go Wandering, that just came out in 2020, like everybody right before the pandemic. This will be a good time. And, I know the pandemic.
Right.
And it was well received, but of course, distribution and things of that nature are going to be interrupted when pandemics happen. So I think where I've looked at it and feel a sense of peace is, I'm lucky to have a little niche of an audience that appreciates the writing and appreciates the style of the performance, and they create sustainability. And so I don't think about, I have to keep myself in check, because what's the goal of the art? And the goal of the art for me is sustainability and the relationship with the listener and the performance.
Nice.
And what I've seen now, I'm 45, and I started this little endeavor when I was like 29, 30, trying to figure out what does live music feel like in a way. And I've been fortunate to see incredible artists and friends excel, and so they're like, wow, they're doing pretty damn good right now. But I remember when we were playing the Elks Lodge at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday, and you got to find a balance in yourself, I think, as any artist, to not dive into the bitterness or dive into the expectation. You gotta intentionally be thankful for the opportunity and thankful for the ability to continue on. So with that kind of outlook, John, I try not to get wrapped up in all the bullshit of, will it be as good as the last one? Or, because it's a different time, it's almost 10 years since that album was released, There Will Be Nights. And so I think art represents your time frame. It represents your stage. And there's been some really good writing reflective of what's been going on these last 2 years. So,
I love the new album too, man. It's
good on you.
Yeah, it's great. And that's the thing too. I was glad. There was another thing too, is like, you're right, people did kind of release stuff right as this was happening, for better for better or worse, because you guys couldn't tour with it. But also, it was
like 2020. Woo!
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh God, I know.
For all of us, it's like, it's 2020.
Yep, exactly. You're like, no one's going anywhere, so fuck it. I'm just gonna release every creative thing I have. Here it all is. Fuck it.
Yep.
Oh my God, that was great. It was. I like what you said about that kind of stuff, because I remember when I was younger and I was going out on the road, I decided at a certain point not to be like certain comedians that I had met who weren't even they're not even like names or anything like that, but like there were guys that I met who have been doing it for a really long time and were just miserable and bitter and made the experience for as a and I was like, and I just remember going like, all right, look, it's gonna be sometimes unavoidable, but I'm not gonna fucking do that, because that seems like a bad place to be. So I would just be happy, I would kind of look at it like, if I got hit by a bus, would I be able to look back and be happy about, whatever I don't know why it has to be a bus, but I'm small and I'm small enough where like a rabbit would have taken me out back in the day. You know what I mean? Like there's no like that car was that car could have taken me out, or gremlin, whatever they drive now, whatever piece of shit car there is. Was it interesting when you were going back out on the road for the first time? Did you have any kind of were you just excited about it, or was there any kind of like
trepidation?
Trepidation. Thank you. Could not think of that word.
Good word. Good word. Let's see. I'm trying to remember the first show I had. It would have been in the spring of this year, I think. Like late spring. We're in Texas once again. We're a unique, strange world here in Texas.
Yep.
But we started playing live music earlier than a lot of the other states.
You did. Comics fled to Texas.
What's that?
Comedians fled to Texas. They were like,
Really interesting. It's an interesting duality here in Texas now, because you have community like that saying, hey, things are going on, and you still have what are you doing here in Texas? What's that about? Like you do. You have this polar,
I believe it.
This polar, conflict going on.
I was supposed to be in Houston before the pandemic hit. It was one of the places I was supposed to stop, and then it hit, and I never got to go.
Yep.
I was bummed, man. I've only driven through it because I've driven cross country, and I
love Houston. I think Houston's a great dynamic of the diversity and the creativity and the presence of Texas, but it's a different expression of Texas, if you will, out there in Houston.
Right.
But it's beautiful, wonderful city. A great music venue when you go is called the Mucky Duck. You got to go to the Mucky Duck.
All right.
Wonderful venue. Yeah, wonderful venue called the Mucky Duck.
Awesome.
One of the older established venues there. That's just great for pickers and great for listeners. Yeah.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
But I was trying. What was the? And it's getting.
Sorry about
here.
that. Yeah,
sorry. I'm in the fireplace room. There's no light in here, and it's getting darker. And so I know I'm getting darker here on the screen. I'm sorry.
I just love that it's eclipsing your answers to shit. You're just like, anyway, trying to find a bit of light. Yeah, no, I was saying, going back out on the road, any trepidation and stuff like that, was it?
Oh, well, so yeah, this was the longest run we had since the pandemic. And I tell you, anything that exploded and caught on fire did. Like currently, our family RV, our Mini Winnie, which I always tour in, it's a little Dodge Spinner Winnebago, is broken down in Paramus, New Jersey, in your wonderful home state.
Yes.
Wow.
And the guys were like, "Oh, it's totally fucked. You're totally screwed." So I don't know what we'll be doing at this time. We're gonna wait to see what their diagnosis is, and maybe taking a Greyhound back up to get it.
You got to hit me up when you're here.
I will. We'll get some kolaches and have a conversation.
Yes.
but no, it was a great tour. It was a great tour. I think so what you saw are that certain pockets of the country are ready to go back to live music, and they're ready to go out and support it, and they need to get out because their body and their soul, are desiring it,
thirsting for it.
There's other pockets that are like, hell no, I'm not leaving my bungalow. You can't make me, and I'll never come out back to live music. And that to me is a concerning thing culturally. When you talk about whether it's live music, whether it's comedy, whether it's theater, whether it's lecturing, whatever the dynamic is, I do worry about these social effects of, are we becoming even more insular and withdrawn because we have so much accessibility at home? I'm a big proponent to say, be safe, be smart, go back out there, because the art's needed, man. Yeah,
I agree. It was weird for a while too, because even going back out to do stand-up, you could tell the audience was excited, which is great, and you're excited that they're excited. And then after a while, you were like, they were just so happy to be out that they were laughing. You were like, hello, and they were like, stop, you're and you were like, I don't even know if I'm really fun anymore. It was like they're just happy to be here. I mean, this seems way too easy.
The bar of expectation has been drawn down.
Yeah,
but
so weird.
That's telling. That's really telling, because it's like, I'm running on empty right now, homie. Like I need something. And it's great that there's still validity to this style of expression and people getting together. People really do appreciate it when you get out there. Yeah.
As opposed to like, you seemed, I mean, when I only got to see you once, but you seemed very in the moment when you're on stage, right? Like, and just kind of experiencing it. Do you let yourself kind of play with your lyrics when you're on stage? Like, how loose are you versus like on your albums?
Way too loose. Way too loose. Like,
that's great.
Saturday night on the corner, I'm hiking my shorts up, but I'm saying, let's go have a wild night over margaritas and
perfect
pizza. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's great, man.
I mean, like really, I like to let it hang out completely without parameters, playing live music to a fault. Probably to a fault, because someone says, "Can you play that song on such and such album?" And I'll be like, "Yes, but it won't sound like anything that you're expecting." Because, I guess, John, for me, like live music is an opportunity for a listener and a musician to really just find this bar or this line of energy that is so metaphysical that connects them. It's not meant to be chamber music and sit down and golf clap, in my opinion. The studio is like a palette and a canvas, and you can be meticulous on how you blend and shade and stipple, and I love those distinctions, but I know that probably for the productivity of the show, that sometimes bites me in the ass, because after the show they'll be like, "Man, that was nothing what I was expecting. That sounded nothing like any of the albums I've heard, but I liked it."
Yeah.
And so and so you're like, "Well, thank you for coming out," and you're appreciative, but I just try to let it all hang out and let any type of burden or heaviness go in the midst of the live performance.
I feel the same way, and I feel like there's kind of a rift, like comedically, depending on who you're talking to about it, where like I always had the impression that, like, look, this club it's not back in the day when like Carson was a thing, right? And they would send scouts out to TV or whatever. This club in Boise, Idaho is not going to make me famous. So I'd rather just give this audience the best fun. Like, everybody should be having fun, and you just do your shit or whatever. But I feel the same exact way, where like I started realizing I needed to tape my sets just because that was the only time I'd ever do this joke. or this bit or whatever the audience gave me that I could feedback and play around with, because once it's over, it's fucking over. And then they would be like, oh, that was great. And then I realized that they kind of liked that. They liked, like, you know, if I posted something and they were in the audience, they'd be like, I was there. And I'm like, great, because that's never going to happen again.
Never going to happen.
Never
going to happen again. Yeah, I think it makes it, there's a value to that. There really is. It's
like, I'm like, I don't know. Do you like, I'm like a Counting Crows fan too. And it's one of those things where,
that was my high school. Yeah, man.
Oh, that's true. Okay, great.
I graduated in 94, so they were like, you know, Mr. Jones, they were kicking it.
Right?
Pretty hard.
Dude, they're like one of my favorite bands, but I've been with like people who don't know or aren't used to seeing bands that don't sound exactly like their albums do. So like, you know, when you go to one of those concerts, he does the same thing like you were just saying. We're like, it's not the same. You can't sing along. Because he'll fucking change the lyrics and do whatever he does, and you know, whatever. And I walked away and they're like legitimately pissed. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That was fucking awesome. Like, it's so weird.
Now, granted, like in my brain, and I'm sure the same for you all, you know, on your deliveries, there's certain phrasing or certain specific songs that I know, well, I'm gonna do it on what the expectation is, simply because I know that's a good sing along. I know that's, you know, and that's going to get some of the faucet coming, and the tears are going to be, and people be hugging. And if I change that element, there's going to be fire, pitchfork. How could you do this to me?
Oh,
you know, and that's a trade-off. Because I do feel, I think one thing in music that is specific to the show that I like to share with folks is that it feels like a social service. It feels like an extension of what teaching is, if you will, but with all the pretentious bullshit. Because educators, you know, teachers, we get so pretentious, like we're better than everyone else because we work with little assholes in schools, you know, like, and I can say that because I'm not teaching right now. I should not, I would get in trouble if I'm not teaching it this year.
Sure.
But, you know, and you know, there's ego in education far more than ego in professional music. And, you know, when you can cut through the bullshit in a live performance and really connect, holy mother, that's a priceless experience that, you know, never get enough of.
Is there a moment that stands out in your mind where like you were starting out and you were younger or whatever, where like you really connected with an audience and you're like, holy shit, this is it?
Yeah. I many times. Nice. There were repetitive times at festivals because the energy is just so unique at festivals.
Right.
Muddy Roots always comes to mind. This Roots Festival that's out in Cooksville, Tennessee, where it's such an interesting dynamic where the artists and the fans we all just chill. We're all camping in the same tents. We're, you know, there's no, that's the green room. You can't go back there. No, none of that exists. We're all just, you know, like, hey, you're in the porty potty. I'm in the porty potty, right? You know?
Yeah.
And it's
I wish we weren't in here together. I'm a little cramped and I feel like weird.
Exactly. But yeah, you have such a connection with people, and sometimes you jump into strangers' arms and they just embrace the feeling that the songs resonate. And so and just a pure thankfulness, John, just ridiculous thankfulness when those opportunities happen. Yeah,
that's awesome. I had no idea that there was a festival that let you kind of like interact with everybody. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent, man. When they do it right, Muddy Roots is a great festival out in Tennessee that happens, I think, right every September every year. You know, minus the pandemic.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, that whole year just wiped away. Nobody got to do anything.
It did.
Yeah.
I have a cousin that plays in a jug band, so he does a lot of festival circuit. So it's just like that. He explains that, where it's very like so communal. Everybody connects. It's a little bit more of a party now that he's getting a little bit older. Yep. So it's not the same as you. It's totally different. It's like Woodstock, like pumped up on steroids.
And there's a different. I will admit, generally the artists that play that, myself included, there's a different level of professionalism. Like our skill sets are okay, you know, but it maybe that wouldn't happen with some of the artists that are so elite with their abilities. I don't know, but there's definitely a blue collar feel where it's like, hey man, you're having a Paps, I'm having a Paps. Let's go get a grilled cheese and we'll play at 5:30. You know, and I like that. I prefer those types of experiences. You know, I've been fortunate to play other festivals that are much more hello, sir. You know, do you have your DNA test to get back in this area of the festival? And those, to me, those just feel squashed. They feel corporate. They feel squashed. So everyone has their own desire, their own level of comfort.
You must connect tremendously, like with your fan base has to feel like a true sense of connection, like after being at your show, where they'll follow you to the end of the earth because they feel like they're part of you. Then,
hell right? Yeah. Well, I think that's the friendship. I'm very small potatoes. Play on maybe 70 shows, 80 shows a year, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't like when you look at metadata, you look at all these things that measure your success in music.
Right.
There's thousands, millions more at another level. So I'm just trying to give a context of it. At my tiny little ant mound level, there's still an incredible amount of email that comes in and responding to people that are moved by a song. Nice. And, you owe that time to write back and say, damn, thank you so much. I got to go to work tomorrow. And I know this kid's going to try to stab me with the American flag in the morning, And so, success in music, monetary comes into play, of course, but success in music and that trade is the strength of that connection with the music listener and the performer, and then you got to figure that out as an individual to say, how long do you want to try to sustain it, and can you sustain it? But the loyalty of those types of music listeners is profound, in my opinion. Profound, for real. Yeah,
absolutely. Do you ever want to leave the date? Do you ever want to leave the day gig of?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, I've only done it once before, and that was in 2015, and that was with the boys and Jenny and the dogs. We were in the Winnebago, and we were driving around playing as a family, homeschooling the kids. And I tell you, it was getting interesting. Like, we were knocking on the doors of the industry, and ultimately we were like, as a family, this is fun, but we can't keep driving around in a Winnebago. This is going to get old after a while. And so it made sense as a family to be like, I like to teach. I enjoy my trade, and we went back to that trade. And Jenny continued as a painter. This is the first year, like right now, is the first year I've ever done this full time. So I have not been teaching since August.
Wow.
Well, I guess since May. Yeah, May of 2021.
Do you miss it?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Nice.
Hell yeah. And you miss it for a variety of reasons, y'all. You miss it for the camaraderie. You miss it for your team, because you're kind of like, no, I was going to say the Lost Boys, but we're not a bunch of vampires like, getting everybody. But, it's like you're a team. You're a bit of a crew. But granted, in my crew, I'm typically surrounded by mid-50-year-old women. That's my crew. And we're coming in like, what's up? We're going to teach kids. Don't mess with us, And you always miss that. You miss that. Yeah. And you miss the validity of the role, because even though I can make 3 times, 4 times, this is a sad fact, y'all, I can make 4 times as much as a musician at my tiny little ant mound level than I can as a professional teacher with 20 years experience with 2 degrees. Wow. It really it's a juxtaposition on life and your value and self-worth as a person. So I miss the value of being a school teacher. And I've got about 6 to 7 years to my pension. I'm going to go back to teaching. I know I will.
Sure.
But when you don't have that full balloon ready to go, you're ready to duck and dodge, and you need 150% to really go and be effective as an educator in today's world. That's when I'm like, I need a break. I need to breathe a little bit, and I'll play for some drunk people and make 4 times as much income and have a great connection.
That's great.
And then I'll come back, come back to it. Yeah.
It is hard, man. I mean, but everything you're just saying about teaching, those were the good teachers, man. Like I could tell you're a great teacher. I have some that I can count, maybe on like one hand that I will remember for the rest of my life, but they don't make them like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And even now it's even harder because, the way the system kind of tries to fit, square pegs into round holes, they don't let you teach.
No. So
no.
That's the biggest reason why we lose educators. I think it was a year and a half ago, Oklahoma had a statistic that said they had maybe like 250 undergraduates going into education as their bachelors. Like and that's crazy. I mean, so that tells you that the education industry is not refilling. You know, it's whoa.
Yeah, I know.
What are we gonna do?
Yeah, and now everybody's gonna hear you saying how much you make as a musician versus a teacher. They're gonna be like, I'm picking up a jaw harp. What the fuck am I doing?
And only 2 people came to your show on Friday. How the hell is that possible? But that's how sad it is. That's how sad it is. You know, the average teacher in America, man, after taxes, after your health insurance, where you got to remember your health insurance is a Russian roulette, because your deductible is killing you, man, your premium and everything. So, you're still paying out of pocket for your health care. I remember our second boy, and this is when I was teaching, right? Our second boy, it was cheaper for us to pay out of pocket and have him at home than it was to use my insurance. Wow. That's the reality of it. And he's 11 years old now. That was 11 years ago. So,
God damn, man. Yeah, it is brutal.
The average teacher in America is making $250 to $350 a day. Now that's still money, and you got to be thankful for that money. But when you're a musician and you can go out and maybe make about $1,700, $1,800 on a 90-minute set, you're scratching your head going, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
In the classroom, to not see the value of what we do as interventionists, advocates for kids. It's like, what the hell, man?
Absolutely. I remember doing college gigs where my friends would be teaching at a place or whatever, teaching at college and strictly avoiding what I was making doing a 50-minute set versus what I knew, because they'd be talking to me about whatever. And I'd be like, yeah, no, I know the gig was good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine.
Oh, yeah.
I'll get dinner though.
God, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, it is. It's fucking wild. When you started out, is there anybody in particular that you emulated? Do you remember going out on the road and stuff?
I've gotten into a pattern of saying this, and I've asked myself, like, do I really mean that, or am I just saying it now? But I really mean it. Like that. The most prolific musician in my life was the artist Richie Havens, who's passed away. And Richie Havens, his claim to fame is that he showed up to Woodstock early and nobody else did. Right. So he's the African-American gentleman that is the first performer on Woodstock who, did the covers of Freedom and all of this. It's his style of playing. It's the energy that he emulates. He wasn't a profound writer, but I just remember seeing him as a young kid. I don't know if it was on the Muppet Show or like
now you're speaking my language.
Good Morning episode or something or other, but it just shook me to my core on how he was able to connect.
I think he was on the Muppet Show, by the way. I've been rewatching those recently. I swear to Yep. They're the best.
But Richie Havens, profound artist that I always try to tell people about.
So I gotta tell you this as you brought up the Muppet Show, because I'm assuming you're a fan of the Muppets.
Hell yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So do you know who Chris Smither is, by the way? He's a blues folk singer.
Chris Smither? Know the name, but I can't pin it. Yeah.
So we had him. So, but it's you and him. So I did a short film that I was shopping around for a while, and Henson Company caught wind of it, whatever. But I loved. I was saying, where does all the time go?
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't. I would never take somebody's, but like I didn't put it on the thing that was released. But to show it, I had written in places for that song to go because I loved it. And one of Chris Smither's songs. So that's the one I used to shop around to show to real people who could buy it. And the Henson Company loved it. And this is pre-pandemic, but like we had a, trying to make it into a series, yada, yada, yada. And then of course pandemic hit and everything went on pause. Yeah. But anyway, there are places in that where it's like a hidden one that no one can see unless I send it to them. But yeah, I loved using it, man. I mean, it was pitch perfect and right the spot where it needed it to be. And nice. Yeah, anytime somebody goes to see it privately, I'm like, don't look at the other one. Look at the one with the real music in it. Because it fits so perfectly. But yeah, nice. I'm nice to know that you're a Muppet. Because the whole point of the Muppet was it was about the whole thing is called Duppet, and it's about this guy whose depression manifests itself into a puppet that looks like him.
All right.
So that was it. Yeah. And it worked out well. But yeah, I love that you said you like the Muppets, because I was like, should I tell him?
Yeah, the Muppets. I don't. So we were raised Mennonite. So we weren't like hardcore Mennonite. Right. We had electricity. We were down Southwest Florida. But in terms of like what could be seen, what could be heard, you know what I mean? Like that was a tricky little minefield of like, I remember Night Court. If you remember the sitcom Night Court,
of course.
court.
Yeah.
That was not allowed. We couldn't watch that stuff.
Oh, no way.
That was too racy.
Wow.
You know, and so we could watch like PBS, 3-2-1 Contact.
Okay.
And the Muppets. Muppets were okay apparently, even though they had a lot of good little innuendos that
they did
pick up on.
And Henson was like a huge hippie.
Fantastic. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was great. I was just watching a video of Alice Cooper talking about being a Muppet.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I totally saw that episode.
Oh, that
totally
was so
saw that
great.
episode with Alice
so
Cooper.
Fucking great. And he was basically like, he was basically like, you know, like they offered me to do it, and I love the Muppets, and he's like, but I didn't want to lose the Alice Cooper character, you know what I mean? Just to kind of do it. He goes, I can't remember who the names were, but he goes, but then they were like, so and so just did it, and somebody else just did, and he was like, oh fuck yeah, then I want to be on the Muppets. It's like, I'm not gonna say no to that because they just let him do whatever.
Totally.
Oh, that's so great. I got a good question for you then. I think this is pretty true, but there's a hard rumor that when you were guesting on the show, on the Muppet Show back in the day, that they let you choose which one of the Muppets you'd be doing more scenes with. Who would you pick?
Who would I pick?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, if you got to do the Muppet Show.
I mean, that you know, if you like the Muppets, that's not a quick response. If you like the Muppets,
I got fucked up
all
over
the
it too.
nuances of the characters.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I was a big fan of Ralph. I love Ralph the dog, the piano player.
Me too.
I thought he was so cool. And you know, he dealt with all the bullshit, and he still kind of was like, but he was still engaged. He wasn't like the stoner Muppets that were played in the band. He was like more engaged. So I gotta say, Ralph. I'm a Fonzie fan. I liked Fonzie's stupidity and silliness. I thought he was like very disarming. Yep. And Gonzo was a freaky weirdo kid. So I always, you always like, I like Gonzo. He's a weirdo. I'm not knocking Kermit or Piggy, but there's just too much attention on Piggy and Kerm. So I like the others. Beaker, I like Beaker. I like the I like the Muppets. So yeah. But Ralph's on number one. I'd go Ralph.
All right, good.
Number one.
Ralph, yeah. I was torn between. I did the same thing. I kind of put Kermit to the side because I was like, he hosts the show, so he's gonna be around. It's not a big deal.
Right.
Piggy, I she's okay.
I don't know. Sometimes you rub me the wrong way. I don't know why.
I feel the same way. It's a little too handsy, a little too Weinstein-y.
I don't know. Obnoxious.
But I was torn between Gonzo, Fozzie, and Rolf, and I like all three of them. Yeah. Rolf could play the piano. Like I know, like you're trying to like follow the light. You're like, where?
I'm trying to creep over to where the lamp is.
Yeah.
To try to give you some, so I'm just not in the big shadow. Like, hey, he's a Tetris character. You can't see what's going on.
Oh my god! There. So what do you got? So you're on the road now. You said, right? You're basically doing some. You got some upcoming gigs. That's cool. Well, you got to get your van.
Yeah. So the way. We got to figure out what's with the RV. You know.
Yeah.
But it was a good run. So if you live simple and you keep your overhead low, you still make good profit, even with a broken down RV in New Jersey. That's just life.
Paramus is not a bad place to break down, though.
No,
it's a nice area.
I've been into a thing of reviewing pizza.
Yeah,
and New Jersey is they give other folks a run for their money. New Jersey's got some good pie up there.
Oh, absolutely, man. 100%. The closer you get to New York, the better the Jersey pie is.
Yeah. All right, there you go. So I've been into that. So if worst case scenario, I go up, I get the RV, I get to eat some pizza, and we review the pizza. So it'll be a good thing. But I'll go away for like a 2-week run, a 3-week run, and then chill out for a couple months and just do a couple Texas shows in between. Because I've got my 13-year-old and my 11-year-old, and then Jenny's a painter, so we work with schedules. But we got a West Coast run coming up in January in 22. Midwest run and back up to the Northeast, and then by summer we're doing a good 2-month tour back into Europe because I've been touring Europe since around 2007. So it'll be nice to be back there. I just saw we got one of the plant leaves hanging out here too. I'm sorry.
I love that, by the way. It's nice ambiance. Yeah, it just the plant's trying to get in on the action too.
Camouflage.
That's
but great, so it's a balance between staying busy and not being too busy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you know where you're going in Europe when you're around there? Like, do you have a favorite spot that you like to do, or just all over?
Well, no, I really enjoy France. I've been fortunate to be able to tour France a good bit, from Noyon to Lyon to La Leon. I always like Leon. In the UK, we've been touring England more and over to Ireland. So the dates will be anywhere from Prague, in the east, to probably back to Dublin in Ireland. So, but it's through Sedate Booking, and we've got all that stuff posted online on social outlets. And
sweet.
It's just good to get out of the States from time to time, just to breathe a different.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Quality of air, and have some different bread and cheese, and just step away from the States a bit. So
know that there's life outside of here if you ever need to escape or grab a boat and leave.
Yeah. Yep.
I feel you, man. I get
a couple bunkers in Belgium. Hide out.
Well, I got 2 more questions for you. We ask every guest that's on the show these questions. Sure. So the first one is, if you can go back in time and give yourself a piece of advice that would help you out now, your younger self, a piece of advice that would help you out now, what would it be?
Man, there's a couple ways to look at it. Like the practical elements are like, don't eat that last slice of pizza when you were 14 and you puked on your buddy's shoes or something like that. Start earlier with music. Maybe start a little bit earlier with music.
Cool.
Where I'm going with that is, if you recognize that you have a talent or a skill set, it doesn't have to be music, but you recognize that you have a talent and a skill set, it's not selfish to pursue it. Meaning as long as you're meeting everyone's needs. Maybe this is for all the Mennonites out there or the Catholics with guilt. I don't know. Maybe it's a church thing, but it's okay to say your talent can empower. It doesn't have to impede your own journey. You can give into that talent a little bit earlier than you thought you could.
I love that. Great. And the second question is, what had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you to where you are now?
A lot of fear. Yeah, a lot of letting go of a lot of elements of fear. Nice. Fear of making the wrong decision, fear of not being confident with what you're trying to share, fear of not being brave enough to take chances. So fear, you gotta let go a lot of fear.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, man, for coming on. I've had it's been a blast. It's been a blast talking to you, man.
Yeah. Sorry,
seriously, thanks so much for doing it.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna say shit like that. It's not gonna be cool and sexy. It's gonna be like an after school.
No, it's perfect. That was great. That's fucking great, man. No, thank you.
Hey guys, thanks for the opportunity to shoot the bull with y'all. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.
Truly was such a pleasure, and looking forward to seeing you when you come up to the Northeast.
Yeah.
Definitely gonna be a good time.
We'll eat some pizza. All right.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Sounds
man.
good. Have a great one.
Dystopia tonight.